Yeah, when you understand how the concept of hell developed across the history of Scripture, it poses some problems. Hi, my name's Josh. I was a conservative evangelical pastor for over 8 years, recently got out of that, and I don't think anybody's going to hell. Here's why. So you might know that in the Old Testament, there is no concept of hell. They use the word Sheol or the grave to describe where you go when you die. And what's interesting about this is that it's a place where everybody goes. This is from the story of Joseph in Genesis 37. Jacob, his dad, thinks that Joseph has died, and all his sons and his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted and said, "No, I shall go down to Sheol to my son in mourning." Thus his father wept for him. Notice that Jacob thinks that he's going to Sheol, and he also thinks that Joseph is in Sheol. Sheol in the Old Testament is a place for the righteous and for the wicked. Or here's one from Psalm 18. David says, "The cords of death encompassed me, the torrents of destruction assailed me, the cords of Sheol entangled me, the snares of death confronted me." This psalm is about a battle that David fought in which God saved him, and David felt like he was going to die, and that's why he says, "The cords of Sheol entangled me." He thought that he was going to pass away and go to Sheol. It's a place for the righteous and the unrighteous alike. One other thing about Sheol in the Old Testament is that it seems to be a place where you continue to exist, although you don't have much of an existence. This is from Psalm 6, where David says, "For in death there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, who will give you praise?" Meaning that even though you continue to exist in Sheol, you don't have remembrance. You can't open your mouth to praise. There's a limited existence. Now, if this sounds different than our modern concept of hell to you, that's because it is. Very different. Now, most modern conservative theologians think that hell is eternal conscious torment. We only start to see this in the Greco-Roman period in Jewish literature, after the Greeks and the Romans have conquered Israel and their culture has influenced Israel. And so concepts like Hades get borrowed over into Jewish culture. We see this in Jewish literature from the time, like from the book of Judah 16:7, where it says, "Woe to the nations that rise up against my people. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance on them in the day of judgment. Fire and worms he will give to their flesh. They shall weep in pain forever." Or this one from the book of Enoch, chapter 22, says, "But their souls will not be killed on the day of judgment, nor will they rise from there," after talking about how God's going to separate the righteous from the wicked. Also worth noting that from this time period, we have some rabbinic literature that says that hell only lasts 12 months. And some where they say that you're simply destroyed in hell. It's not an eternal conscious torment. You're annihilated. So the Bible teaches two very different things about hell. What are we supposed to do with that? Well, first of all, as usual, if you still believe in inerrancy, just throw that out. The Bible clearly contradicts itself and has many flaws. More importantly, what this shows is that you just cannot be sure about your interpretation on hell. Your preacher cannot be sure about his interpretation on hell. Your parents can't be sure about their interpretation on hell. Because the Bible teaches conflicting things on hell. No matter what you say about it, the Bible itself is going to contradict you because it contradicts itself. This is why I personally look to the passages that talk about a universal atonement to help interpret this. When you understand from those passages in the New Testament that God saves everybody, it'll make you realize nobody's going to hell.